So for my next guest, he's a former captain in the U.S. Air Force, founder of Men of Action program. He is the host of Michael Sartain podcast, and he's the only 46-year-old that I would switch bodies with. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's good to talk to you, Faraz.
I was on your stories the other day, actually. I think it was like a day ago, and you were with Dan.
Yeah.
What is it like to hang out with Dan on a regular day?
So Bilzerian is interesting because it's like he is a down-to-earth dude. Like you can see if you read his book, like he talks about some of the things that happened to him growing up that were traumatic. You know, like for instance, like wanting, like his father was, kind of a spendthrift, but they were wealthy, and then his father going to jail, and like him wanting to feel like included and all this kind of stuff. And when you get to know him, man, he's a real dude. If you're in his circle, if you're not in his circle, like he just comes off like a force of nature, man. I mean, he's just like, it's really hard to explain. A force of nature is probably the best way to explain it. Like I've had people hit me up before and they know that I'm friends with them. Or like, hey man, I need you to set up a meeting between me and Dan. And I'm like, that's not how this works. I need Dan to be here at this time. I'm like, that's not how this works, bro. Like it doesn't, the plane takes off when Dan's ready. We start filming when Dan's ready. That's just kind of how it works, is that we kind of work, when you work with him, you're kind of on his schedule. But the reason why is, he's the he runs a company. He runs several different companies, several different interests. And when you're making that much money and you have that many responsibilities, you can't judge when you have a friend like that. And I have a few other friends like that, like Dan, who are worth over $100 million. And you can't judge the way you would act and compare it to the way he should act. Does that make sense? Like for us, you and I don't go out and literally every 5 feet have dudes try to take pictures with us. I might get 2 a night, sometimes as many as like 8 on a night. Dan, it's 50, 60 a night, girls hitting him up like crazy. And so like his reality is just very different than other people. But one of the things that's kind of cool is like when we're at his place, he's playing chess, what I'm saying? We're playing in the fucking rec room, hitting baseballs or playing paintball. And it's just cool. And there's no girls around. Like a lot of times he has business meetings and there's no girls around. And Frauds, if like on my birthday, I have a birthday party where it's me and like 50 girls. And then a couple days later, I invite all the guys from MOA to come play basketball with me. So it's all dudes, right? That's what I usually do. My birthday's like on a Thursday. Thursday, it's all girls at Haksan or Zook or wherever, Tao. And then on Saturday, we all go hoop together. So that's just kind of been like my tradition, is like sometimes you want girl time and sometimes you want guy time. That's another thing that's unique about Dan. But yeah, man, it's really interesting. And man, he is super fucking fastidious about what he puts in his body. Bro, he's got a chef, like a fucking incredible chef. She's Guyanese and she is amazing. The stuff she cooks, every time we go to Dan's house, he feeds all of us, bro. And the stuff he eats is just fucking world class. That part is really interesting too. But like it's just an interesting time. It's the Dan with the girls. I've only done that maybe 5 or 6 times. Just Dan hanging out with the guys is usually how it is. And I like that too, because I like Dan as a person, not just like as a fucking social media celebrity. He and I get along for a myriad of reasons. We're both business minded. We're both prior military. And we both, I think, have a really, really strong fundamental understanding of female attraction. So I think that's why, we always have stuff to talk about when it comes to them. He's also really, really generous, and you're not going to know about it. You guys are not going to know about all the stuff he does for fucking amputees. He's not going to show you that shit. He's not going to show you the shit he does, the truckloads of toys he buys for kids. That's just not So, I do big like charities where I try to get people to join in. Dan does his stuff behind closed doors.
That's quite interesting. Like looking at Dan from the outside, it feels like he just doesn't care, right? He's probably putting whatever in his body, just hanging out, partying all the time. But that's very interesting. And I believe that. I think Dan is the type of guy that has a completely different persona, like publicly, but he's a different guy privately. And I do believe that he is the type of guy to, give kids a truckload of toys and give all because I remember I was listening to the podcast actually before this, and I think you introduced him as a philanthropist, and he was like, that's the first time I've heard that. That's quite interesting. Yeah,
but I knew he was. I've seen something he does at all his parties. He has amputees come to his parties, and he shows them the best fucking time, military amputees. And it's like one of the things where like I look up, of the things that I admire the most about him, that would be number one. And number two is the fact that he never turns down a photograph from anybody. But I admire a lot of stuff about him. But yeah, man, he doesn't. The other thing is that I've learned from Dan specifically is dopamine spikes. So Dan is aware that like when everything is a 5-star meal and every time he's with a girl, she's a 10 and it's a foursome, Like if after you do that, your dopamine spikes just don't work anymore. So Dan will go like several days being celibate, or several days he won't smoke. He does smoke weed. He won't smoke weed for a long time. Dan will go, like, he's very fastidious about his workouts. And bro, he loves these ice baths. I did an ice bath at his place last time. I made it 40 seconds. Dan sat in there for 5 minutes and it was 44 degrees outside. That ice bath was maybe a smidge above 32 degrees. And he was in there playing fucking chess while he was in the ice bath. So he's just super disciplined. And the other thing that it kind of reminds me is, like, I spend 95% of my time at home working. And I have cats. Dan spends 95% of his time at home working, and he has cats. Like, that's another thing that we kind of have in common. And then when we go out, this is another thing we have in common. When we go out, it is a blowout, fucking crazy lunatic affair where everything is incredible and wild. And we do it for like 1 or 2 days. Then we come back home and chill. Like that is something else I kind of learned from him.
Yeah. In his book, if you read it, well, obviously you read it, you were part of some of the stories. We'll go into that in a second. If you read his book, it's just, back-to-back highlights, right? So when I was reading it, I was kind of like, this is just ridiculous. But obviously you forget that these are just highlights that he put in the book. Obviously there's probably a lot of stories that he didn't put in the book, but I think those stories were probably stretched out, and you forget that he goes home and chills with his cats and dudes, and that's it.
You also forget about the stories that did happen. If you looked at all the girls who tried to sleep with him and couldn't, and you lined them all up, they would still be some of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life that tried to sleep with him. Because Dan, like we were joking about this last night, Dan does not like the big titty stripper look. He doesn't like that. I do. I fucking love that. So like, It's funny because like all those girls, they wanted to hook up with him too, and he wasn't having it. So it's really interesting. Like, if you were to line up every girl he never hooked up with, I mean, we're talking about fucking first team all NBA. It would be ridiculous.
So crazy. What has been like the craziest story that you were part of that maybe was not in the book, that you were part of? Yeah. With Dan.
To me, still one of the craziest things is going to his, it was like an Instagram post. Like, look at all the fucking bougie shit you see from all the girls trying to stunt on their ex-boyfriends at Art Basel this week. There was something, his parties were 100x that. I mean, it was like 7 or 8 girls to every guy. And like you weren't a legitimate IG model unless you were invited to that party. If you weren't invited to that party, it was just like such a low stat. Girls were going to that party to show that they belonged. It was like when you join the Marine Corps, you know what I'm saying? And they get the tattoo, the Marine Corps tattoo, because you belong, because you made it. It was like a IG model's rite of passage was to get into one of those Ignite parties. And so you go there and it'd be 7 or 8 girls to every guy. And then I was like, Bruce Buffer walks by me. Oh shit. There's who's the shooting guard for the Suns? Why can't I remember his name? Oh goddamn, I can't remember his name right now. I see there, and there's JaVale McGee right there. And then it was like Diplos, and then there's Jake and Logan Paul, and then it was like it was so crazy, like seeing the celebrities were there. But still, the craziest thing I've ever seen was I'm sitting in the room and nobody knew what was going on. And then Cardi B walks, bro, this is not an arena. It's his living room. She walks onto a stage they put there, and she just starts performing for like an hour. And we're just sitting there. Like, some of us are stunned. Like, that is really Cardi B, like a few feet away from us. And then Cardi B leaves. It's 3:00 in the morning, and fucking Sway Lee just walks on stage and starts performing, and we're all singing with him. And Dan is nowhere to be found, bro. He is not even like enjoying this. And I'm looking to my left, and there's like Aoki, and over here is Diplo, and Diplo's at every one of these parties. And then like Marshmello will be there, but if you don't know what Marshmello looks like without his helmet on, you're not going to know it's him. But it was like, and everyone, by the way, every one of them played for free for Dan, except for Cardi B. Every one of them played for free. So that was probably one of the craziest things. It was like the full flex 10 out of 10, what you imagine like the wildest Instagram event would ever be. This was that. And there were 4 of them, and I went to 3 of them. I didn't make it to the first one, because the first one where Marshmello was playing. There were just 4 big parties. And that was probably some of the craziest stuff. Other than that, I'll tell you else, Faraz, it was repeatedly hanging out with him. There'd be a group of girls there. The girls would pull me to the side, and there was always one girl who said, I would never have sex with Dan. And then she would be the first one to have sex with Dan. It was like clockwork. 100%. I was like, that's the one fucking Dan, 100%. Like, it was so obvious. And by the way, Vegas Dave, Exact same thing. I saw the same thing happen with him. It was like the ones who were like, you don't like, if I don't want to sleep with a girl, do you know what I do? I just don't sleep with her. I don't tell anyone I'm not going to sleep with her. I just don't do it. For girls to sit there, you're in his house wearing his bikini, drinking his liquor and smoking his weed, telling me you're not going to sleep with him. Why don't you tell him that? Oh, you won't? Okay. And then she ends up having sex with him. It's just one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And then the stories he'll tell us about, like, literally a girl complaining that her boyfriend cheats on her while she's literally cheating on her boyfriend with Dan, like that kind of stuff, like the hundreds of stories like that. Those are kind of crazy. But I think what Dan is, when you can study like the solar system, right? The in astronomy, you have a solar system like goes all the way up to the Kuiper belt, and in the solar system we can observe some things. And then there's a different type of astronomy, like cosmology, where you're talking about the edge of the universe, right? That's way further beyond the solar system. Dan, to me, is a study of the edge of the universe. Like, how far can things go? How far can preselection go? How far can fame go? I still live in the solar system, and I'm very aware of that. Like, Dan is 100x where I am. When I see that, it's just like, it's very interesting. Okay, do these principles still apply at a 100x magnitude? And I watch Dan, I'm like, okay, that still applies. Cool. Then let's try it here at my magnitude and see if it works. And of course it does work, because the things he does and the things I do are totally based in evolution. They're totally based in human evolution and natural selection.
Speaking of evolutionary psychology, I know you're a huge fan of David Buss, and you interviewed him, which I also reviewed, and that was a great interview. Have you read into Robert Greene at all?
Yeah, of course I have, and I like Robert Greene, but it's not scientific. And like, Rollo loves Robert Greene, and I've read all of Robert Greene's books, but I do feel it is kind of a guy trying to give you what he thinks works rather than a guy who actually did it. Like, if Robert Greene was so good, he'd be a billionaire. So I like Robert Greene. I'm not telling you I don't. I'm just saying, I like The Art of Seduction is about the first book I would recommend to you for not getting laid, because it doesn't help you at all. Like, I just don't think the book helps you. And like Rollo and I disagree on this, but I just don't think the 48 Laws of Power, there's definitely some good stuff there. I like The Art of War by Sun Tzu a little bit better. But like, I'm not trying to bash Robert Greene. He comes out a new book. I'll read his new book for sure. But like, to put him in the same category with David Buss, I would never do that. And to be fair, like, from a practical standpoint, to put him in the same category with Rollo Tomassi, I would. The Art of Seduction, the actual Art of Seduction is the book, The Rational Male. Like, that's what I would look at. The actual Art of Seduction, you're better off reading The Mystery Method. I don't know about doing the Mystery Method. I think you need to update some of the things that you do in that program. But like, he did have Eric. Oh, by the way, I literally was just talking to Eric Mystery maybe 10 minutes ago, 10 minutes before we started this.
Oh, dang.
And
okay.
His understanding of male-female dynamics is spot on. Like, I wish that Eric had stopped and just got a graduate degree in evolutionary psychology, and I feel like he would have had a ton to contribute to that field. But the other thing is, like, Eric, because he was like the king of pickup, when social media came, it sloughed off so many parts of that whole arena. And for those of us over 40, we remember what life was like before Instagram. You would go out, and if you were going out on a regular basis to the hottest clubs with the hottest girls, you were sleeping with the hottest girls, period. There was no exception. There was no, what I mean is, there was exceptions, but there was no other way to do it. That was the only way to do it. You understand what I'm saying? They didn't live, you didn't meet them in the mall. It just wasn't the same thing. I had Richard Hart, who's worth several $100 million on my show recently, a huge crypto advocate. And he was saying what I've been saying for years: 9s and 10s do not go to the mall. You will not find them in a coffee shop. They just don't go to places where you can see them. Yes, obviously, I know in Brickell, Bel Air, there are some, you will definitely go to a place and you'll see them occasionally. I'm not saying you'll never see them, but for the most part, 99% of the country, you're just not going to see them. And like, so how do you create something that's good enough to get people out? Dan is the best I've ever seen. No, I disagree. Let me say that again. Hugh Hefner is the best I've ever seen at doing that. Dan would be the second best I've ever seen at doing that. And Dan used social media more than Hugh Hefner did, but Hugh Hefner was doing it without social media, which makes it a little bit more impressive. So that's why, when you, again, looking at those effects, it's like, does the law of gravity still work when you're talking about galaxies hundreds of billions of miles away? And you see that it does. So then the question is, does preselection still work when we're talking about guys as famous as Dan Bilzerian or Hugh Hefner? Is there too much preselection to where the actual formula starts to break down? And the answer, just like the answer with gravity, is no, it does not break down. It still works at the 100x or 1 millionx rules. And so that's why I love, like, Dan as a friend, but I also like watching Dan as a social experiment, because he's done a 10-year social experiment, which he succeeded. And now he wants to teach it to other people.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, by the way, whenever that comes out.
Yep.
What is it about Mystery and Eric's method that just it seemed like it just worked for him, but it didn't really work for anyone else?
No, it definitely worked for other people.
You know,
So here's the issue, right? Now, I'll tell you what the issue is. One of the things we didn't understand. So I'm gonna say there's 2 periods of pickup. All right. Pickup is 03. So the book, the game comes out. There's obviously pickup before that, but for right now, we're gonna call it about 03. So Neil and Eric enter the chat to 2010. At 2010, there's an inflection point. I'm gonna tell you the inflection point was because of a guy named Mike Long. And I'm not blaming Mike Long for anything, but Mike Long was the guy who turned pickup into a business and turned it into an e-com business. Okay. News blasts, all this kind of stuff. I started getting messages, and it was just like, and I would respond to the messages, and I just saw it was like an autoresponder, and I realized, oh, this is not Eric. I would like text Eric, but I would like get emails from Eric, but weren't from Eric. Does that make sense? That all started like around 2010, and I was like, this doesn't feel feels kind of icky. Pickup from 03 to 2010, I don't have many complaints about it, because the reality is nobody knew what they were doing. We didn't have the science. We didn't have the data to back us up. We were barely using internet forums. Nobody was uploading video, and we were just kind of doing the best that we could. It was like the early days of physics, right? People just didn't understand what they were doing. No one had thought to include Dr. Buss, because the Evolution of Desire had come out in 03. No one had thought to include Dr. Buss into this whole discussion. No one had done any of that. So from 03 to 2010, I consider that like almost like the golden age, or the innocent age for the pickup community. From 2010 to 2017, what happened was, because of the money grab, the wrong type of individuals. I literally just talked to Eric about this not even 30 minutes ago. The narcissists, misogynists, and sociopaths started creeping into the community, and they started making, like, again, the complaint that guys in pickup were doing things that were misogynistic. It's true for us. It's actually fucking true. I totally agree. It was misogynistic.
I want to know the names off the record.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, but like, some of the names on the record. I've mentioned them before, but like, it's true. They were misogynistic. They were narcissistic. They were teaching dark triad traits in order to get girls, and they thought that was the way to go. And like, I didn't want to stand by that. Neil Strauss won't do an interview about pickup now. One of the most famous pickup artists who ever lived. He won't do an interview about pickup today. He will not do one. He won't talk about it. And so when you realize that he wanted to get away from that whole scene, I had gotten away from that scene, not because I was worried about the offensive nature of it. I got away from that scene because in 07, I started hanging out with these club promoters in Atlanta, and I was just so bluntly obvious to me what was working and what wasn't working. Because it was really heavy, because Atlanta had a fucking heavy ass pickup scene and a heavy nightclub scene. And I was comparing and contrasting the two. And from that information is where I came up with my current theories now, in combination with what I've read on the concepts of evolutionary theory. Those two things are where I sort of came up with my theories in my program, and then putting into practice, hundreds of times. That was thousands of times, and then having thousands of clients like that. Those things all together, just sort of seeing that in general, women prefer more muscular upper bodies than not muscular upper bodies. If you have lower body fat percentage, I can show your jawline, which is a more masculine look. Women prefer some facial hair, but not always, all the time. Not just as long as it's kept well. When you go with the ball fade here, it actually accentuates your jaw. That makes you more physically attractive. Okay. Things like that I understood. Women preferred more money than less money, a deeper voice versus a higher voice. There were certain attraction things I understood. And then there's the ones that Mystery would talk about, which is leader of men, protector of loved ones, and willingness to emote. The leader of men, obviously, that's the big thing I teach in MOA, right? Pillar 3 is leadership. That's why, by the way, you guys want to know, that's why leadership's in MOA. It's kind of because of Eric. And then protector of loved ones is another one. It's like, it's one of these situations where I don't remember, I won't say his name, but you remember we had a guy come on the call, and we were asking him, hey dude, what happens if a guy comes up and grabs your girl's ass? What would you do? And he goes, oh, I don't know, mate. I would probably just like leave the club and like leave her there. And I'm like, you'd leave her there? It's like, yeah, I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to go to jail. I'm like, first of all, bitch, no one is going to press charges on you hitting them because you have no upper body strength at all. And number 2, your girl is going to leave you before this dude grabs. Like, that concept of protector of loved ones is like, another way to say it for us is, are you down to fucking handle shit? It doesn't mean I'm violent. It's just, again, Just for those you don't know, the United States of America has 5,300 nuclear weapons pointed at Russia, and Russia has 5,900 nuclear weapons pointed at the United States. Okay, just in case, bitch, just in case some shit pops off. Like that's the thing. You have to have some level of edge to you. And I've said this before. Like these guys, some of them will come to me and they look like the first guy to get their lunch money took when they go to if they went to prison, food taken, fucking taking their sheets, taking their soap, taking their commissary, taking all their shit, just made into somebody's bitch. And my point is like, why be like that? Why not embody these masculine traits that we can handle? I can't change my skin color. I can't change my eye color, right? I can't change how tall I am, but I can change my body fat percentage. I can change my level of pre-selection, and I can change my income. Those three things I can change. And I can also change my charisma, my ability to connect people with each other, and I can change my ability to network. Those things I can change. So let's focus on those things that you can change. And so after doing this, we're crossing the 800 client. For those of you who don't know, MOA is all high ticket. We don't have a low ticket program. We only have a high ticket program. We just had 800 people go for the program. If you want a testimonial, that should be the biggest testimonial there. And when we have all these people go through the program, they come through it. And one of the things is it makes you think about yourself. It makes you look into yourself and say, why would a woman ever want to go out with me? Why would anyone want to network with me? People hit me up all the time. I was asked the question, like, if you met a celebrity, what would you say to them? You don't know what to say to them because you have no value to offer. Well, that's one of the first 5 modules in MOA is we tell you what value everyone has to offer. Remember, there's 2 things for us that are always free to men. 2 things. Number 1, pre-selection is free to you. Make female friends and go to places with a bunch of females. That's free $99, free dollars and free cents. That's how much that costs. You can make female friends and roll up to a place with female friends. That is free $99. Getting compliance from women. Women are seeing it repeatedly, and other women choosing you because of it. It's proven. It's probably the single most. Mystery said it fucking 15 years ago, and Dan Bilzerian says it today. It's probably one of the most potent attraction triggers there is. That's number 1 thing. That's free to you. The second free thing you have is you can be a connector. You can, with high status man to high status man, high status man to high status woman, connecting people together, always being a connector. That is free dollars and free cents. That costs you nothing to be able to do that. So you have those 2 tools as a man when you are broke as shit that you can do to level up your sexual selection and level up your status. So why not use those things? And it's not crazy to think of, Michael, I don't know, what would I talk to about Elon Musk? I would introduce Elon Musk to interesting people, and I would ask Elon Musk interesting questions. That's what I would do. I already know the first 5 questions I would ask Elon Musk, and they all have to do with radiation shielding on the first people who live on Mars. And he would be like, yeah, well, and then I'd be like, hey man, if you want to melt the polar ice caps, the problem is you still don't have a magnetosphere. So how do you intend on keeping the atmosphere in there? And I would ask him questions like that. He'd be like, oh, okay, I'm talking to a different motherfucker right now. Yeah. This is not he's not trying to get an autograph. Yeah. This motherfucker, I may need to hire this motherfucker. I see what's happening right now. And that's what happens, right? Same thing with Dan. So first time I met Neil Strauss, the first thing I asked him about was the book Ulysses by James Joyce. I didn't ask him about pickup shit because, to be fair, I don't need pickup advice from Neil Strauss or anybody else. I didn't ask him about pickup shit. I asked him about writing a book, and I asked him about reading complicated books. The same thing. You know what me and Rollo talk about all the time? Rescuing animals. You guys don't think about that shit, man. You just don't think about it like that, the way that you do it like that. And Dan and I talk about the military. Sometimes we talk about girls. You can always talk about girls. Doesn't matter who it is. You can always talk about girls. And we talk about business, and so that's the thing. Like, what would you do when you saw the most beautiful woman ever? Would you be ready for it? What would you do if you saw the most high status dude ever who could give you the job of your dreams or the business idea of your dreams, or you could hire him to build the funnel of your dreams to make $1 million a month? What would you do when you meet that guy? Are you interesting? Do you have any idea what you were doing? Well, I'll tell you what's free to you: value arbitrage, which is connector, suggester, content creator, and pre-selection, which is, female friends getting compliance from women. Those things are free to you. They're always free to you. And you always have to remember that. And so that's what my program specialized in, was those, amongst many other things, those 2 ideas. We hammer them home because I want you to be able to do MOA with no money. That's one of the main things that we try to promote in the program.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the advanced networking, because a lot of times guys think, the guys who are just not part of the community, they kind of see my Instagram kind of the upcoming, and I think anyone, like you could take anyone, Godwin or John Kinley or whoever, and they see their Instagram coming up, and they think the Instagram and the content is kind of like where the juice is at. Like if you just have like 5 good pictures, all of a sudden, you're at the booth with the bottles and the networking happening, and you're on a
Yeah, I know, right?
podcast, and it's
Yeah,
just like, no, it's leadership, it's value arbitrage, it's like a lot of behind the
yeah.
scenes work that no one sees, and also a lot of times you're just scared. When we did our first photo shoot, I was like nervous, I was a little stressed out, and I was just like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like, is anyone gonna show up? Are people just gonna look at me like a fucking idiot? Like, who is this guy? And then the what's
So
that
for me, it's
what's
like
that
you're going to
term?
do 100 photo shoots. I hope they fucking don't show up, and I hope they look at me like I'm an idiot because I'm
Yeah,
going to do 100 photo shoots, and nothing today is going to discourage me at any point whatsoever.
I love that. Yeah. um we were talking about earlier evolutionary psychology and how attraction works, right? And you were
Mhm.
speaking to, what was the name? Fit X Fitness.
Fit X Fearless, yeah. Fit X
That
Fearless,
Yeah,
yeah.
that guy.
Bismarck, yeah. The dude's awesome.
He was speaking about, like, okay, going into looks maxing, right? So he was like, all right, your eyebrows or something. He was like, you trim your eyebrows in a certain way and it makes you look more attractive, and his eyebrows looked
Yeah,
amazing too. But
yeah.
where's the line that you wouldn't cross when it comes to doing those things?
If women know that you have hair plugs and still find you attractive, does that hurt you?
No.
Does that hurt you? Does a woman say, he's not hot, I'm not going to let him fuck me because he has hair plugs? Does that ever hurt you? Does it
No.
hurt you?
No.
The answer is absolutely not. And
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. If a woman is attracted to a very muscular torso and find out that the dude took Trenbolone, does she not fuck him because he
She
took
doesn't
Tren?
care. She doesn't care. Yeah.
She doesn't care at all, bro. She
Yeah.
doesn't care at all. So if she doesn't care, then it doesn't matter that your teeth are veneers, and it doesn't matter that you have hair plugs. And I think the limit for me is Botox for men. I know some guys get it. I've just seen it go so bad for dudes, so fucking terrible. I've seen Botox really screw up dudes' faces. I know a guy who just recently died from just shooting way too much stuff into his face.
Oh, you can die from that?
Yeah. So that's,
Oh, dang. Okay.
no, he was shooting a lot of other stuff in there too. It was
Okay.
really bad. Like it was some bad shit that was going on, and his liver couldn't handle it. But it was just, man, I would just be that's probably the limit of where I would go. If you're a dude and you want to get a nose job, just as long as you don't get something that just looks way too feminine, I don't really think I'd have a problem with it. The surgery where they pull your ears back, 100% I'm down for that. I would do that for sure. If you are a person that just has like a fucking, like you work out all the time, but you still look like Tyson Fury, like a big fucking bag of milk, and you wanted to take Ozempic or fucking get liposuction, maybe not in like your 30s, but maybe in your 40s or 50s, I don't think I would have a problem with that. Anything you want to do to look max, I really don't have an issue with it. It's not really a big deal to me. Anything to get rid of fat around your midsection, makes you look younger, anything to make your face slimmer, I don't really have any problem with that whatsoever as far as the looks maxing is concerned. I'm right on the border with the fucking color contacts because they look super fake. That's the only one. Like so far we can't fix the color contact thing. Is just like, it doesn't really work when you have dark eyes like mine. So yeah, any of that stuff is cool. But like, I also like what, Alex Costa said, which is chew gum all the time, which makes your jaw stronger. Absolutely true. Definitely. Get thinner to make your face leaner, for sure. Ball fade in order to accentuate your jaw, 100%. Get facial hair to accentuate your jawline, 100%. Get those hunter eyes and use, fix your eyebrows in a way that makes your brow look more steep, 100%. I agree with all that. I don't have any problem with that. Also, their shoulder to waist ratio. So I want my shoulders to be as wide as they can, in proportion to my waist. And when I do that, you want your shoulders to be about 65% wider than your waist. And you do that, that's what women find to be the most attractive. So how do you do that?
Yep.
You can do that through getting your shoulders bigger or by losing body fat. Everyone who's watching this, whenever I hear a guy who's like thinking about being like a passport bro, my first question is, are you below 14% body fat? No one should be allowed to even consider leaving the country to try to get women unless you are below 14% body fat. Because that means, like, fat dudes who become passport bros, it's so disappointing to me. It's such a cope. No, dude, no, it's not. You're not supposed to be a fucking passport bro yet. If you haven't even tried losing weight, why are you a passport bro? So that's another thing where I would say is kind of an issue. But all those things with looks maxing, Alex Costa has some great shit coming with hair. So if you have white people hair, I would listen to Alex Costa. If you have black people hair, I would listen to fucking FitX Fearless. When it comes to hair care, that stuff is awesome. Like, these guys have such great stuff when it comes to looks maxing. The problem is Faraz, when I accentuate looks maxing, short dudes who have ethnicities where they think that they're not going to be good with women, they think that I'm a black, they just like, well, you see, black pill is real. They have to looks max because women won't. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have different attributes. One of the attributes is charisma. One of the attributes is speaking voice. One of the attributes is your fidgety behavior or your masculine presence whenever you walk around people. One of your attributes is your social alignments. One of your attributes is your sense of humor. One of your attributes is preselection. And one of the attributes is your looks maxing. Those are all different attributes. But like, again, I'm just tired of people complaining, like people in black pill complaining when they're not in shape. You don't get to complain then because you're not in shape, you know? So that's my main issue. There's nobody who's watching this who can't get below 14% body fat. Nobody.
Yeah, it's like a video game where you have all these different skills, and you know, some of us might be taller, so they might be at like 80% in terms of taller. Some of us are shorter, whatever. And it's like you got to max out every single one of them, and the results. Yeah. It's a bunch of different things that you're spinning at the same time.
And if you're just like in basketball, if you're shorter, you have to be more skilled. If you're taller, you don't have to be as skilled.
Yep.
There's Shaq and there's Kobe. They both scored a lot of points. They both went to the Hall of Fame. They both won multiple championships. You can be Shaq where you have a lot of physical gifts and you're not as skilled. Shaq was definitely skilled, but not as skilled. Or you could be Kobe and you're significantly shorter, like Kobe's 6 inches shorter than Shaq, and weight and about 100 pounds lighter. And your skill set is leaping, ball handling, passing the ball, playing defense and shooting and scoring in different positions and going to the foul line. So Kobe had more skill, but Shaq had more talent, like natural size. And it's the same thing for men. If you have these things working against you, then dude, 6'3" Australian male strippers with fucking tattoo sleeves that walk up with their Australian accent and their 6-pack abs. I have a disadvantage to them. And dude, let me tell you something, for us. They are everywhere here in Las Vegas. Everywhere I go, they're here in Las Vegas. And I have a disadvantage. They all have fucking green eyes and like, hey, mate. And they're all just fucking like perfect physique. And I have a disadvantage. So what do I have to do? I have to come up with other ways of overcoming that advantage. You know what happens is some of those guys come up and they'll ask to take pictures with me and they'll be like, hey, I want to come on your show, or I love your show. And the girls will see it and like they've attributed that status now to me. You see how that works? So you can overcome that. So that's why I always want to say this. Preselection is real. The experiments have been done and the proofs have been written. Preselection is real. Okay. Mate choice copying. Black pill has been disproved. Black pill is not real. We know that now, that black pill is not real. Men using intent in order to get to women to sleep with them, the man to woman direct intent pickup strategy, we know that is a low probability strategy now. We've run the experiments are done. That is a low probability strategy. Okay. Having high amount of social IQ, creating large social events where you can contextually make yourself look like a 10 around other women, that is the highest percent in. The experiments are finished. The conclusions are in. That is the truth. That is what the truth is. Women do not sleep with you because of your intent. They sleep with you because of your status, period. There's no more. You're basically arguing if the earth is flat at this point. Like we're past that. And people still want to have this argument with me. And it's like, the argument's over. Social circle is better than cold approach. It's just done. So that's the thing. Cold approach is going in an unfamiliar environment and where you're at a massive disadvantage and trying to get girls to come home with you. Your social circle is taking girls from an unfamiliar environment to a familiar environment where just her showing up is enough compliance to where you go up 2 points. Just showing up, you go up 2 points. If a girl shows up to your birthday, like for us, if a girl thinks you're a 6 and she convinces herself to show up to your birthday party and there's 10 other girls there, no matter if you do nothing else, you're already an 8. Do you understand that? Do the people watching this fucking understand that? If you don't grasp that, you don't understand social dynamics.
100%. That's so true. I saw that on my birthday, actually, it was last August. It was a great time. I was going to add also, with the height and status and social circle, the whole debate, isn't Dan Bilzerian like under 6 feet?
Yeah, it's 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's under 6 feet. So that real life example right there.
He looks like a SEAL. Like he does. He's, strong arms, but he's just got this really he's got some big old legs, bro. He's just a big old leg dude. Yeah. And he's fucking yoked. And he looks like, when I meet other guys who were SEALs. Now, Dan went through SEAL training twice. He didn't make it all the way through. But when I meet other guys that are SEALs, they're built like Dan. They're like compact individuals that can carry massive amounts of weight, lots of lower body muscle. Like that's what I've seen before. So that's kind of the way, like, I don't have the physique to make it through SEAL training. My knees would give out. I'm just not built that way. My hips are like this, and my knees are like this, and my ankles are like, they just wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have made it through SEAL training. But like a guy like him, yeah, for sure.
I hear you talk about gratitude a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
and I like your approach on it because you tend to compare yourself to people with absolutely unimaginable circumstances, right? And you're
Yeah.
here in America, your life is pretty good. I mean, even if you're like an
Mm-hmm.
average person in America, your life is quite good compared to people, you know, Syria or somewhere in Africa, wherever, India,
Yeah.
Pakistan, right? Um, so for you to come to that conclusion, like what was an experience or adversity that brought you um to gratitude, and also what was a good that came from that?
Yeah,
Worst,
definitely my dad getting killed by, yeah, my dad being killed by a drunk driver was definitely it. I mean, when any question. It was that, and then me 6 weeks later going to the Middle East, and then my girl just like not even tell, she, by the way, she wasn't my girl. I shouldn't say that. I'm still friends with her, but like she was like already talking to some other dude, and I found out about it on Facebook, like MySpace. I found out about it on MySpace.
how did you how did you get
Just I
access?
looked on it's 2006. I just looked on MySpace and I just see she's in Cabo with some other dude. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then finally I get an email, you know, it was like that type of shit. But it was that was the moment for me. And then with the gratitude thing, right? So like here's where you are. All of you watching this, you're here. And then there's the guy who just lost his job, right? And then below that is a family member or loved one has caught some sort of disorder, or maybe you have had to put an animal down. And then right here is like a death, like a serious death, and like a massive takeaway, and completely being zeroed out and having no money and maybe entering into like a poverty situation. Okay. These are all really bad. Now let's go to the 17th century. No antibiotics, like incredibly short lifespan, corporal punishment for anything you do wrong. Like the punishment for anything is death. Just incredible levels of suffering. Teeth fall out at a young age. Let's just go up to the 1850s. Half of the Earth's population died from before the age of 5, in part because when people started moving into these large cities so that they could eat more food more plentifully, two things happened. One, their diet started to becoming less varied because they were just eating like whatever was grown there. And number two, we started seeing massive numbers of pathogens that Homo sapiens weren't ready to deal with, and it was killing people like crazy. You know, so in the I believe it's the 1300s or 1400s, the Black Plague comes and just completely eradicates like some massive percentage of the human population. Just imagine living in Tibet in the 15th century and having Genghis Khan come, and you can see him coming like maybe 20, 30 minutes, and you just know every man in your group will die without question, and your wife and children will be taken and sexually assaulted. Like, and they may let you watch, and there's nothing you can do about it. You think your life sucks? Today, half the Earth's population lives on $1 a day. Today, they live on $1 a day, bro. You have any idea how, like, if you live in the US and you make $50,000 a year, I think you're in like the top 1% of richest humans that have ever lived on this planet. Like, it's crazy, like how the level of ingratitude that people have. It's just nuts. So when you have that level of gratitude, then you just come to a realization. And a lot of times when you'll find people who grew up in a privileged situation, meaning like money or status or exceptionally good looking people, they have one of the things that they don't have is gratitude. And not having gratitude, like ingratitude in and of itself, is a disease like cancer. And it spreads amongst the whole group. People start complaining. I meet people frequently, they would rather complain and become a victim than come up with a solution for any of their problems. And when you meet people like that, you're just like, okay, ingratitude doesn't make you happy, but it's a form of equilibrium where your ego can constantly receive validation. So that's why people like to live in ingratitude and victimhood. That's where it comes from. And so just catching yourself, okay, I'm living in ingratitude, I'm living in victimhood, being aware of it, and then catching yourself and knowing that even though your mood may be low, you still are you're in control of your own behavior. You're in charge of your behavior. And when you are in charge of your behavior, you become aware of your ingratitude, you become aware of your low mood, you become aware of all these things, and then you start changing your behavior, then of course what will happen is your mood then will change too at some point. Really immature people, there's the difference between maturity and immaturity. Immature people believe that their feelings, when they go into a dark place, that their feelings are real and their behavior is justified because of their feelings. Mature people go to work even when they don't feel like it. Mature people say, yes, sir, no, sir, even when they think their commander's an idiot. That's what mature people do. Mature people know that their feelings are just their feelings. Immature people believe that their behavior is justified because of their feelings. Does that make sense? And so that's where things get problematic. Immature people can't run companies. That's why immature people have so many issues and end up being, in the end, very unhappy, because they can't consider other people's feelings, and they don't come to the realization that you don't deserve to treat people like shit just because you are in a bad mood today. And so that's kind of where the difference comes. That's the difference between maturity and immaturity.
Anger or resentment, holding grudges, all those things. The antidote to that is forgiveness, or would it be gratitude for you?
So gratitude would lead to forgiveness. Again, I've dealt with people who were sociopaths. I got assaulted in a nightclub one time. This dude's a complete sociopath. And I remember afterwards realizing he's banned from every nightclub in the city. He's banned from every hotel in the city. Now there's a video of it. Now nobody wants to fuck with this dude anymore. And he just went underground afterwards. And it's like, as angry as I was at him, I would give anything in the world to not be him. So it was more gratitude than anything. Yeah, definitely forgive him. I forgave the woman who killed my father. I forgave Astrid Carlson when she killed my father in 2006. But the thing is, in that situation, me forgiving her, I have even more gratitude. I'm a human being that can forgive something that terrible. Man, think about all the burdens I can unburden myself with by having that ability. So that's why I'm really, I do agree that that's like really, really important thing. Now, here's the thing though, for us, I want to make sure people understand this. A chip on your shoulder is good. There's this middle area that maturity will allow you to get to. And this is where you can forgive people who didn't believe in you, and even people who like deliberately disrespected you. You can forgive them, but you don't need to forget about what they did. Like, I still don't trust these people, okay? But I don't hate them either. But there's this little middle area that I use as motivation when I'm in the gym. Just a little area where there's like this one girl. I remember this one girl, Emily, used to pick on me all the time when I was in fucking junior high. And she used to get me so mad. She knew how to rile me up. I was a stupid kid. I didn't know what I was doing. And she knew that she could become more popular by making fun of the unpopular kids like me. And I remember, like, when I was in the gym, I would just see her just like making fun of me. New bench press max. There's this little sliver of a place where you can kind of hold some of those things. And for me, it's like when I get on the bench and I like to hear, I see the haters right above me on the bench. And then I'm just like, and I imagine someone who didn't believe in me watching me lift this weight right now, and how I would feel if that person didn't see me able to lift this 225, this 350. How would I feel? How embarrassed would I be? My body just turns into a fucking animal. I'm a machine, and then I start lifting. So I do like it as far as like short-term motivation. There's a video where this dude like trashes me on YouTube, and it bothers me a lot. Like, and it's complete. The whole thing is whole horseshit. I'm not gonna say who did it, but I tell you right now, if I was gonna do a celebrity fight, I would watch that video. I would have them lace me up, and I would put that video right in front of my face right before I come out there, and I would imagine that the person I'm about to fight is that dude. And I would come out there with so much focus and hatred. And just for a few minutes, it's a dangerous place, but if you want to be a fighter, you got to go to that place. I would go out there with that kind of focus and vitriol just to go out somebody for sure. 100%.
I love that. That's one of the reasons I don't have any gym partners, because I can't be talking to people and be in this social mood and have fun and then lift weights at the same time. Cause it's like,
yeah, I'm with you.
Right. I don't have any friends at the gym because I'm just like zoned.
I'm there now.
I'm thinking about it. Exactly. I'm thinking about the girl who, know.
I've gotten there. I've gotten to that point. Yeah.
I want to talk about fresh and fit for a second. So
I'm going to say something that is absolutely unassailably true, and most people won't believe me. Fresh and fit, absolutely do not try to select for dumb women or OnlyFans models or anything. They have to fill a show with 10 girls 3 nights a week. They're reaching out to girls on Instagram. Aaron Pogson does it. He tries to get some interesting girls. They have med techs on there, accountants, girls with master's degree. They have tons of them. The problem is girls like that who live in objective reality don't say crazy shit, Faraz. They're on the show actually acting like, yeah, I kind of love my boyfriend and I would never want to cheat on him. That's not going to go viral, Faraz. And Myron is not going to yell at her. It's the OnlyFans models whose entire existence, narrative, and fucking lifestyle are put in question by these red pill people. They're the ones who try to stand up for themselves against Myron. Then there's vitriol, acrimony going back and forth, and that goes viral. And so people start thinking all Fresh and Fit does is try to provoke arguments with these girls. They don't have to try to provoke arguments with these girls. Faraz, I'll tell you something else. I was under the impression, but from listening to these other people, that basically if you had a more equitable distribution of the female population, that the answers that they would be giving are different than the answers that you see on Fresh and Fit. And I will tell you, I very much tried to do that. I try to get as many master's degrees, mothers, and married women on my show as possible. Those 3 M's. I try to get as many as possible. And I will tell you, they have the exact same answers. The exact same answers as these other girls. You go in there with a group of accountants, and you ask them, do you guys think you're a 10? All the accountants will think they're a 10. It is crazy. Now, we'll tell you one caveat. If the first girl in the group says she's a 7, then all of them will give an honest answer. If the first girl in the group says she's a 10, all the girls in the group will say that she's a 10. That's the one caveat. But this narrative that people have, that they're deliberately inviting dumb women on, like Mac and Murphy was saying something like this, I'm going to tell you it's unequivocally not true. Your theory is incorrect. Come up with a new one, because that is not the answer. There's other things like social pressure, or there's a selection bias because these girls are being selected through Instagram. But the idea that they are deliberately choosing women because they're dumb is 100% irrefutably, unassailably not true. I know, because I know how whatever gets their girls. I know how Fresh and Fit gets their girls, and I know how Access Vegas gets their girls, because I'm the one who does it, and I can tell you absolutely that's not true. That is just not true. It's just the problem with what happens is Faraz, let's go back to your point. Sorry, your question, which was now it's not that most of you don't watch an entire show of Fresh and Fit. Most of you don't have 4 hours every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to do that, but you do watch the clips. And when you watch the clips, the ones that go viral, you're seeing what's generally a attractive, or at least like unique looking woman who makes money on OnlyFans with some sort of lascivious behavior, nudity, and or hardcore sex. And her entire existence being questioned by Myron. And because of that, the two start fighting. And the problem is Myron, because trying to fight Myron on Fresh and Fit is like trying to invade Russia in the winter. It's just stupid. These girls come on there. They have no data to back up anything they're saying. And they go up against Myron, who, by the way, Myron also, you guys should check out Fresh and Fit stats. There's a fucking website that they have for that. Myron is so backed up by statistics, and me and Rolo are sending him stats all the time. He's so bulletproof on some of these topics. And then these girls come in and they try to argue with him, and they take like a triple L, like a fucking elbow from the top rope, Randy Savage L right on screen, bro. And it's crazy. They do this time after time when they could just do a little bit. Like the only one, like, I'll be honest with you, I thought Jasmine Jafar did a pretty decent job. She came up with some good ideas. But the problem, Myron and her still went at it back and forth. I thought she had some interesting points. I don't agree with her, but I thought she had some interesting points. But for the most part, Jasmine Jafar is 1 out of 500, 1 out of 2,000. Most girls have nothing, and they'll go up there and they'll try to argue a point because of their feelings, and it's a trap. Like they basically, Myron's trying to get you to come off sides, and because of your feelings, and you do, and then he systematically dismantles you. It's very similar to like what's his name? Floyd Mayweather trying to get you pissed off before the fight, so you throw the punches. He's a defensive fighter. He gets you tired out, and then he puts you out in the 8th round. Like, that's what Myron does. These girls get so far out over their skis trying to argue with him, and they don't have the facts or the statistics to back up their viewpoint. And then when they do so, it becomes problematic. You know what I'm saying? We understand you make a bunch of money from OnlyFans. That's fine. And if you want to say, I understand that in the future, I'm going to have a hard time finding a quality man because I fuck on camera, then Myron's not going to disagree with you. But if you try to say that's not true, then we'll show you stats that it is, and then you're going to get even more mad. And then that's when the arguments happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I mean, Myron is.
It's always fun. By the way, the same thing. Fresh and flat Earth. When flat earthers have to deal with objective reality, it goes viral because they can't deal with objective reality. So when you have someone who's in their feelings that has to deal with objective reality, you'll see it's a crashing of waves crashing on some rocks. And it's like that explosion, that chaos, that friction, that violence, it does really well on social media. It does really well on YouTube. And that's why, and YouTube continues to promote it. It's very obvious. YouTube promotes that content more than TikTok. TikTok will promote. If you guys want to grow on TikTok, I'll give you a hint right now. You grow on TikTok. Make anti-red pill content on TikTok. You will grow very fast, very quickly. I'm just give you a little secret. And then here's what you guys should do. Make anti-red pill content for like 6 months. Just super blue pill beta shit. Just make content and then switch it up after 6 months and then just go hardcore red pill. That's what you should do. Someone should do that. I'm telling you right now, anybody wants a secret,
I'm going to do it.
There's two ways to get a bunch of free comment, a bunch of free engagement. One, say anything negative about Russia. You will get a ton of fucking free engagement. People will come comment on your shit like crazy. And number two, go on there and say bad things about Red Pill. If you say anything negative about Red Pill, you will get, TikTok will give you hundreds of thousands of views on your videos.
What does that look like? What's an example?
Mac and Murphy.
Mike and Murphy.
Alex Date Site. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. If you make anti-red pill content, grilling, if you make anti-red pill content, they will fucking blow your shit up. Yeah.
Speaking of Red Pill, what are some of the characteristics that you look for when looking for a settling down with a girlfriend, wife, whatever, a partner?
Yeah. Does she bring me peace? A high level of loyalty. Loyalty is going to be the most important thing. If she, especially front facing in the business, it has to be, because the thing is, like, and women have a hard time dealing with this, but if a man is working and a woman is working, he can't embarrass her to anywhere near to the extent that she can embarrass him. Just imagine if some red pill, like massive manosphere content creator, let's say like a blue pill alpha, like fucking Chris Williamson. Let's just say Chris Williamson gets cheated on by his girlfriend. That would hurt his business, bro. He's trying to be like this sort of like dating expert. Could you imagine how bad that would be for him? It doesn't help Destiny that he's trying to give advice on, this kind of dynamic, and that he's divorcing his wife. It's so bad, so bad. These guys will lose their relationship and be professionally embarrassed. Women don't have the same. I'm sorry, dude. If Sheryl Sandberg got cheated on by her husband, she's still like a pretty, she's a sharp CLO, even though I don't agree with a lot of her viewpoints. She's really sharp at her job. Like, she's not going to lose her job because of it, but it's very different. So it's one of the things you have to understand is, like, when your girlfriend, she has to understand, are you front facing, meaning like, are you part of the business in the do we see you publicly? And if we do, if you have the potential to embarrass the dude, then that's got to be one of the main things. Also, high level of loyalty, just understanding when we're doing things to promote, like to help the relationship, that those things have into account rather than just being selfish. The ability to listen is really important. And then the other thing is that I look for in someone is, when things go wrong and I need help, are you going to panic, or can you handle stuff? And that's hard, because a lot of girls can't. A lot of really pretty girls, when anything goes wrong, it's like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Help me. And like, it's like, well, what if I was going to die? Would you still be lost, or would you maybe open up your phone and like look up directions? Like, can you handle little things like that? The other thing is, like, passive aggressive communication. There's all these things you have to watch out for, because if you're going to have a child with a woman who's passive aggressive and acts helpless whenever she's in a tough situation, what's going to happen with your kids? What's going to happen with your kids? It's really important that, they can't just be attractive. And I don't agree. Like, Myron and I were going to disagree on this concept. I don't want a woman to just be silent. Like, I actually like listening to women talk. I do. I very much enjoy. I like listening to the emotional nature of things, and I like their observations. I really do. But what I don't want, though, is the dangerous part is when your feelings start to supersede objective reality and you start telling me these things. Okay. It's the extreme example is, a woman has a dream about you cheating, so wakes up in the morning and punches you. That's like an extreme example of what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? Another example is like what Homath said. A guy puts on a raincoat weird out in the winter. She's like, ooh, that's an ick. And then breaks up with him because he looks weird in a raincoat. That's like an extreme example. But there's other examples where it's just like their emotionality trumps reality. And in doing so, you just like ruin the relationship. So those are some things I'm looking for. The other thing is, I would recommend men have enough experience with women to where physical attraction doesn't control them. Like, there's no way. Kylie and I joke about this. She's like, oh, I would have dated you when you were 21. It's like, no, you wouldn't have. Because when I was 21, I would have fucking slobbered all over myself if I saw Kylie. Right. And I still have the same feelings of anxiety when I saw her now at 45. Now I'm 46. I still have the same feelings of anxiety. But the thing is, because when we talked about maturity, I had the maturity to control my behavior at 45 that I didn't have when I was 21, so that I didn't look like a bumbling idiot when I met her. So I think you as a man have to have enough experience in general with women so that you don't go you're more attractive. And then once you're in the relationship, one thing I've said this before, women need to ask for commitment. You as men don't need to be offering it up from the beginning. It's a very bad look when you do that. And then when you do so, there needs to be boundaries that are set. And when those boundaries are crossed, there needs to be no question that the relationship ends. There needs to be boundaries where it's like, I'm going to leave the room boundaries. And then there needs to be, you're moving out boundaries, or we're not talking anymore, or I'm blocking you on boundaries, right? So like a girl fucks your brother. That's that's blocked. You're out of my life boundary. But it's like, we started to an argument at dinner. That's maybe we need to sit in the other room for a little while boundaries. Does that make sense? And you need, as a man, you have to stick to those boundaries. The moment you don't, it's very much like, just imagine if home ownership of pistols was made completely illegal in certain neighborhoods of Chicago. Just imagine if there was a rich neighborhood in Chicago and a city law came out, and in that city law, everyone knew that no one was allowed to carry firearms or have firearms in their house in that neighborhood, because those people in that neighborhood can no longer enforce their boundaries because they don't have the weapons, they don't have the hardware to do it. If you're a man and you don't have the hardware to enforce your boundaries, then a crime wave will then happen in your relationship. And then the inmates will take over the asylum, and that's kind of the situation that will happen. She needs to have boundaries too. Please don't try. I'm not trying to say she doesn't, but like, one thing people have a hard time with is that everything is conditional, right? If your girlfriend tries to throw your nephew off a balcony, you need to break up with her. That's a condition, right? You know what I'm saying? And if you beat your wife should leave you. That's a condition. Those are conditions. Everything is conditional. Nothing is unconditional, guys. Nothing. The only thing that's close to unconditional is like, what's his name? Jeffrey Dahmer's mom, like showing up in court, like testifying on her son's behalf. That is unconditional love. Okay. This motherfucker ate 17 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's unconditional. That the mother's love for a child is unconditional. Everything else is conditional. Everything else is conditional.
Agreed. I think the thing about boundaries, it's so easy to just say to, like, let's just say you just started dating someone and you're like, yeah, if you do this, I'm gonna do that. If you do this, I'm gonna do that. And then like it actually happens, you're just like, all right, well, this time, I'll let it slide. And then right after that, it's just game over. Like, she'll never respect you after that.
Yeah.
It depends on what happened as well. Maybe you were too extreme about the boundaries, but usually, yeah, it just goes south from there.
But you have the right. So you have the right to be extreme about the boundaries. Like the whole Jonah Hill thing. Jonah Hill would be controlling if Jonah Hill was controlling her life and telling her to not leave or talk to anyone, and then still wanting to stay with her, and then being verbally abusive and insulting her. That would be controlling. Jonah Hill was complimentary of her, told her what his boundaries were, and said, if you don't want to meet these boundaries, I still support you. Let's just not be in a relationship together. And then he broke up with her. That is totally normal behavior. I will take on any therapist who wants to have a discussion about this. What Jonah Hill did was totally okay. It is totally okay. If you want to say, well, it's not okay because she's a surfer and she was in a bikini, then what I'm going to do is have a dozen Muslim men sit here, and I'm have these Muslim men say, I don't want my daughter or wife dressing in a certain way, and if she did, I wouldn't be in a relationship with her. And then I want you to tell all of these Muslim men that they're all misogynists, and by the way, fundamentalist Christians, man, I want you to tell all these Quakers, I choose for a certain level of modesty in my relationship. And if you don't want that level of modesty, I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to say mean things about you. I'm just not going to marry you. Does that make sense? And by the way, I have no problem with that. And I don't need that level of modesty. I love it when my girlfriend's in a bikini. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me. But some people have a big problem with it. And so you have, as a man, so the thing about it is, this is where, people kind of don't grasp this. Men, we have handshake deals, and then we can just leave the handshake deal. Hey, man, I just want to let you know this deal isn't working for me anymore. And we just break off the deal. That's fine. That's how it works. It's like this concept of like things being unconditional, or, it's one of these things where it's like you always have the ability to leave. If I don't give you the ability to leave, then that's extortion. That's kidnapping. But as long as we have the ability to end the relationship, then it's fine. And what I mean by that is, if I propose a boundary and you don't like it, we can both end the relationship. Then that's fine. The problem comes when I impose a boundary and then I don't let you leave. Right. And then I start extorting you or holding things over you. That's when we get into like criminal behavior, grooming, shit like that. That's a problem. And that's not what Jonah Hill did. That's why I have such a massive problem with him being like skewered by people on the left who don't know anything about what they're talking about. People with unsuccessful relationships were no one with a successful relationship was criticizing Jonah Hill. I'm gonna say that one more time. Right, here's your clip. No one who was in a successful relationship was criticizing Jonah Hill's behavior. Only people who have been divorced or selfish or think for themselves and just don't give a fuck, eat, pray, love type of shit, like thinking divorce is some kind of championship. Only those type of people who consistently get into unhealthy, toxic relationships were criticizing Jonah Hill. People who have been in healthy relationships know that Jonah Hill was just expressing boundaries and gave her the option to leave if she wanted to. That's the difference. Now we're learning that Will Smith may have also been attracted to men. It's really hard. Like, I don't know, because it's just going to get on this thing. Like everyone's piling on him. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but like the problem is we're questioning whether or not it's true. So what does that tell you?
Like I haven't really
I'm saying
found an evidence that's like true or not. I'm just
okay. So let's just say he is homosexual, like, or he's bisexual. That would explain a lot of what's going on. Hey, I'm fine with my wife sleeping with other men. That would explain a lot. But let's say he isn't bisexual, but he is so non-masculine that we would consider him to be bisexual. What does that also tell us? That's probably why his wife wouldn't respect him, and then she would go off and sleep with other men. You understand what I'm saying? And just so we're clear, they did not come to that agreement mutually. I don't care what they said on the red round table. She told him she was going to sleep with other dudes. Maybe did or didn't, or found out after the third or fourth one. It absolutely was not his idea. I don't care what anyone tells you. Will Smith did not tell Jada Pinkett Smith to go sleep with other dudes. They can cope and make up any kind of lies they want. It's clearly the situation. But the thing is with the Will Smith situation is it's as bad as it looks. It really is. Like it's one of these situations where you know, have a person. This is a completely different situation besides relationships. Jada's a narcissist, and she gets her supply from an empathetic person named Will that she can get her supply from. And Will is more famous than her, which, by the way, kind of bothers her a little bit. I think, you know, most women who are attractive are used to getting more attention than their boyfriends, but that's not what's going on here. Will gets way more attention than Jada does, at like 100x more.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's always going to be an issue for someone who's a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? I think that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like Will is a good-looking guy and a musical performer and a talented actor. Jada was a pretty woman who was in a few movies and really didn't her career. You know, she was compared to Halle Berry, but Halle Berry is a phenomenal actress and very physically attractive. Halle Berry is an award-winning actress. Halle Berry is not comparable to or Jada Pinkett is not comparable to Halle Berry. Jada Pinkett is closer to, say, Vivica Fox. Well, Vivica Fox is a more talented actor, to be fair. But that's where the difference is. So go ahead.
I feel like Jada would have done the same thing, even if she was with, for example, Tupac. I feel like that's just like in her nature. And whoever she was,
Tupac would have left her.
With.
No.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Tupac would have left. Tupac would have left her. Tupac would have left her. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tupac would have left her. It would have gone fine for a while, but like her instability would have caused a boundary to be breached, and then Tupac would have left her.
Yeah, 100%.
Does that make sense? Tupac would have had a beef with some other rapper, and she would have like been mad at him one day and entertained some DMs between, you know, Jada and Biggie, and then once the DMs come out, Tupac would have left her. That's what would have happened.
So what about those people? Like, how do you, let's just say you got wrong with someone, right? And they don't have the ability to feel sympathy or empathy, and they're completely okay sleeping at night. They killed someone, you know, whatever, horrible thing. What would you do? How would you react to that? Because you know they're completely fine. I would try to forgive them. So here's the thing: sociopaths don't feel guilty or empathy, but they're not also completely fine. They tend to have self-destructive behavior. We have a saying in the military: when you see the enemy ship burning, let it burn. Don't jump on the ship while it's burning and then kill the captain and then jump. Just let the ship burn, right? With a sociopath, you need to think of a sociopath like I don't know if you know, like I think it's called plutonium oxide. If you had like some plutonium right here, it would quickly like merge with the oxygen in the air, and if you breathe it in, it's hyper toxic. It would kill you very quickly. Okay, it's just very on top of the fact that it's radioactive. Like maybe uranium oxide. I could get this wrong. But anyway, radioactive material in the room with you, it would kill you. What do I do with the radioactive material? Do I hit the radioactive material with my hand? No. Okay. Do I get it? Do I insult the radioactive material? No. I get the fuck away from it.
That's what you have to do with sociopathy. Like when you insult people, you want them to feel some kind of pain for the way you're insulting them, but sociopaths don't feel that. So you're just not winning. Like you're arguing against someone's ego, but it's just going through them. Like your insults don't hurt them, and you can't embarrass them. So it's really pointless for you to get involved in these situations, and it's a no-win situation. So the trick is with anybody who shows any kind of cluster B personality disorder, where they have like low levels of empathy or remorse, Machiavellian behavior, get as far away as possible, because you can't, because they're toxic, they're radioactive, and you just have to get away with them. That's the only way to do it. You can't fix them, so it's time to get away. By the way, minimal contact, speak to my attorney, that kind of shit.
I'm thinking more of like, if whenever there was a guy that I know just recently, and his girl cheated on him, right? And he was telling me that, well, she's gonna regret this. I'm like, I don't think so, bro. Like, I think
she won't regret this.
She has justified it already. She did it because she never liked you.
I don't know 10 girls. Like if you think I'm exaggerating, go through my IG. I know thousands of women, and I don't know 10 girls. You know what? I don't know 5 girls who've ever told me they regretted cheating on a dude or regretted breaking up with the dude. I don't know 5. When they leave a dude, it doesn't matter how bad their situation is. As soon as they break up with the dude, they cannot conceive of the fact that they may have made a mistake. They will. It's like, it's not, hey, you cheated on your husband, then he left you, and now you're in a worse financial situation, so maybe you shouldn't have cheated on your husband. That never occurs to them. The only thing that they say is like, he's an asshole for not continuing to support me and support our children. Like, you're forgetting the part about where you cheated. You remember that part? Remember that? Right? So that's the issue.
Yeah, 100%. It's justified. It's almost his fault, right? It's like, that's how they justify it. There was another girl that I was talking to like a couple of months ago, and she just cheated on her boyfriend or fiance, I can't remember. And I was like, oh, how do you feel about it? Like, she's like, well, he didn't go down on me for 2 months, and like, I'm sick and tired of this. So I did
justification for doing it. Absolutely. Instead of just breaking up with him. It's his fault. Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you just break up?
Absolutely.
It's his fault. Yeah. And I'm like, so when are you going to break up with him? And she's like, oh, like this week, like I'm going to do it eventually. And I'm like, why not do it now? Oh, because I live in the apartment. I can't just leave.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Like, sick. I'm like, dude, you guys are hilarious. And like, her friend is the girl I was dating, and she was fully supporting her. And I'm like, okay, I know where you stand. Yeah, I gotta like step away from you.
Yeah. So when I hear stories like that, I'm like on the fence. I never pretend to know everything. I don't know everything. Sadia Khan, who I love her content. I've never met her, but I love her content. She said that on Lewis Howes' show that she believes that women cheat more than men, but they don't consider it cheating. They're just like, oh, he didn't satisfy me, so they don't consider it to be cheating. If that's the truth, then women would cheat more than men. They have such a dissonance about what they're doing that they don't believe that they're actually cheating. And I've said this before. There are some, I know this to be a fact. There's some women right now that literally will suck a guy's dick, and then afterwards, because they were mad at their boyfriend, and if you put them on a polygraph and said, hey, did you suck this guy's dick? They'd say no. And they'd get away with it because they fully convinced themselves it's not cheating. It's possible to have that level of dissonance, to actually, like, where you bend reality in your own mind. Yes, I do believe that's real. I'm on the fence with that. Like, I think 50 years from now, 100% women will be cheating more than men. I don't know if it's the truth, if it's today. Maybe 20 years from now, I think it'll be 2 to 1. I could be wrong. But some people think it's already there now. And I don't know that to be a case. I know Mac and Murphy doesn't believe that to be the case. I know Sadia Khan believes it to be the case. So it's just one of these interesting situations where, there's a lot of guys who don't count. It's really crazy. When I finally get women to admit this, it's like women, their body count to them is precious. And, if they've only been with 3, maybe 7 guys. And so adding another body because they got fucked up and fucked, Chris Brown backstage at a concert, they don't want to add that body. It's not worth it. It was just one fuck. So they don't want to add it. So they don't put it on the ledger. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll tell their female friends, but they won't tell guys. And so that becomes, problematic. Individually, it's not problematic, but overall, just the concept of whether or not a woman's been with 5 guys or 10 guys is not essentially what's problematic. What's problematic is the concept of you feeling comfortable about lying. Do you understand? you feeling so strongly about something that you were able to convince yourself that it didn't happen, that's what's uncomfortable. Because then what happens in the relationship with me? You can now convince yourself you didn't cheat. You see what I'm saying? That's where things become problematic. I can't find this data anymore, but I saw it one time and made me laugh so hard. Men were asked if receiving a blowjob was cheating, and it was a high number, but it was like 55% of men said it was cheating, but like 45% of men said it wasn't cheating. And then they asked the same group of men, if your girlfriend gives a blowjob, is that cheating? And it was like 95% of men said that was cheating. I wish I could find that data, but it was so funny when I saw that. And I was like, yes, that's true. That is.
Just want to touch on just your time in the Air Force, because you talk about that in a high regard. You and Jocko are the two people that really, talk about that in a high regard. And then there's some other people that talk about being in the military or whatever, Navy, whatever it is, like your body's owned by the government and all that. And I don't think it works like that.
No.
Obviously, like you're a free individual, even in the military. It's not like they're telling you to guys to go war and you guys just yes sir and do it, and no one has any kind of clue what they're doing and no one questions the leader.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about that, like your time in the Air Force. What did you learn from it, and why did you love that time? Because you talk about it like that.
Yeah, listen, I know this may be counter to what many of you believe. It is a privilege to go to battle for your country. Absolutely a privilege. If I didn't want to go to battle for my country, I could have just easily at any point failed out of nav school or failed RT training without putting up any objectives whatsoever, and they would have made me a finance officer. It's not difficult. I'd be working in security forces. It is a fucking privilege to go to battle for your country, okay? All you have to do is miss some qualifications. You don't want to go to war, get a couple of DUIs. They'll bump you down to E1, and you'll be like, now in Vietnam, if we're talking 1968, no, it's a very different. They're pulling felons out and putting them in as E1s and sending them straight over to Vietnam. That's a different time. But right now, it's not like that at all. Our military is so much smaller now too. I mean, we're like, I think 1 million people active duty now, maybe less. Because of the technology that we have, and so when you consider that, man, I'm sorry, like, no, I never at any point did I feel any level of ownership. And if I was not a good officer, I would just get kicked off. I would just get kicked out. Like that's the way it would work, or I'd get it with, I'd have some different job or whatever. Yeah, but I think it's way over, because there were times, especially in times of conscription, where if there was a draft, there was a very different time. We're not anywhere near that point right now. We're not anywhere near that point. We could go to full scale war with Russia, and I don't think we'd have to have a draft.
What are the top 3 non-negotiable standards in life for Michael Sartain?
I need to consistently have the ability to learn from other people. So either finding mentors, listening to audiobooks, podcasts, or YouTube videos. I need that to be constant. I heard this one thing, it was Bill Gates. He said he takes a week off and he goes up to a cabin and he just reads the whole time. I make my whole winter that, except I don't go to a cabin. I play Madden or Grand Theft Auto. I turn the volume down to 0 and I just listen to audiobooks for hours for the entire winter. That's what I do. And I get through like so many books. I'm about to finish the Witcher series today. I'm at the very end of the Witcher series. I read tons of books. I've read so many self-help books. I wanted to read some fiction. So that would be one of the non-negotiables. The second one is I'm always going to live in a situation of abundance, right? So the question I would always ask myself is, if I had 50 million in the bank, or if I had an incredibly beautiful woman at home waiting for me, would I tolerate this behavior from another person or from another woman? From another man or another woman, would I tolerate this behavior if I had 50 million in the bank or a beautiful woman waiting for me at home? Would I tolerate this disrespect? If I wouldn't, then I'm selling myself short.
That's 2,
that
right?
would be another non-negotiable. Yeah, that'd be another non-negotiable. And then the third one would be, bro, I tell, if you work for MOA, you guys know with my sales team, I tell them at the beginning of the meetings, I need you guys to tell me when I fuck up. I need to have enough humility and gratitude to where, even though I'm the founder of this company that's, doing 8 figures, that I need to still take criticism from other people. And I need for Miguel and Grant to always feel like they can tell me when I screwed up. I need, if they ever feel like I'm difficult to work with, I need them to tell me that so that I can fix it. I want MOA is going to go forever. And we're probably going to have different products all along the line, but it's going to go, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to go forever. And
I hope so.
I want for there to be other iterations. And I want people to say, hey, you know what? Sartain, I don't know, social circle, whatever, but he's great to work with. And he knows how to fix your funnel. And he gives you incredible advice when it comes to your sales team. And, he's incredible when it comes to that stuff. The thing is, we don't sell a business course right now, but if you take our networking course, we'll give you a ton of business advice. We'll talk to you about starting your own podcast, like what you're doing right now. We'll go over all these different concepts with you as like a bonus, because we want you to join the alumni program and then stay with us forever. I want you guys to stay with us forever. And then eventually from the alumni program, I would like to take the entire alumni cadre and then eventually hire them to work for MOA as salespeople or as onboarding coaches or networking coaches. That's what I'd like to do. That's a pipe dream. I don't know if we'll ever get that big, but maybe we'll. If I was as big as Tony Robbins, we would get that. That's exactly what I would do. Eventually, you guys will be coaches for me. You guys will be onboarders for me. You guys will do admin for me. You guys will do fucking sales. And that's what I would love. I would love for all my high ticket sales guys to be guys in the alumni program. Yeah. I love enterprise because you guys have to answer tough questions. You get nickeled and dimed worse than anyone because there's no for the people who understand, selling enterprise meaning like I'm going to sell software to Amazon, not a private person. Amazon has lawyers and engineers and people in QC that go over your software and pick it apart. And then they're constantly price checking for other people. So they get Amazon the absolute best deal. And then they're like, we're Amazon. You're going to give us an even better deal because we're a fucking huge market. And they just keep twisting your arm. Enterprise sales is hard as fuck. But you instantly, when you get one of those contracts, you instantly become an 8-figure business, a 9-figure business instantly. That's why it's so difficult. So enterprise. I learned about that from Neil Patel. That's definitely a big deal.
Yeah, it's talking to like 5 different departments with 5 different VPs who's gonna put you to the shitter.
No emotion whatsoever. Yeah, they all think you're a liar. Fuck. They all fucking hate you. They all think there's no way you're telling the truth, and they just pick you apart. And then finally, they come up with a deal and like, okay, cool. Like enterprise is that's the reason why you see people like going these backroom deals and like giving their buddies contracts or whatever. It's because enterprise selling is so fucking hard.
It's hard. It takes, I think, 12 for DocuSign, that's where I work, 12 to 24 months to close a deal. I mean, like I won't be here by the time the deals we have started.
Yeah,
I will not be here. Probably not. Hopefully not.
Crazy.
Bro, I'm just gonna ask you the last question, and I'll let you go. If let's just say everything was deleted, your Instagram was deleted, all your connections gone, YouTube gone, just starting from scratch, but you have all the skills and knowledge that you have right now, like today. So you have all of that, and maybe you're 36 instead of being 46, but all of the things you have built, it's all gone. How do you start from scratch in 2023?
Yeah, so 100%. I would get a job commensurate to a high ticket closer. So if I'm not a high ticket closer, then something like that to get enough capital so that I can probably start hiring people to help me with a team. Like I would probably also get into like funnel building. Like I don't know much about that. I know a lot about video and a lot about audio and a lot about podcasts, but Grant Jordan knows way more about building a funnel than me. I would go into the funnel building area, and then I would try to start a business where I'm selling some kind of info product. And in the beginning, I would be doing my own sales and build my own funnel. And then once I got to a certain level of income, then I would slowly start hiring different parts of the business away. And I may even take on partners, kind of like what happened with MOA, but like the infrastructure for MOA, it kind of existed before we even started the company. To some extent, meaning the ideas behind the company were already put. We'd all worked with other companies that had similar ideas, so we kind of knew what to do to a certain extent. Let me tell you something. If you can find a Grant and Miguel in your life, that's what I would recommend you do. But it's hard, bro. Like I am so fucking lucky that I found 2 guys who are trustworthy and let me do what I'm good at. I let them do what they're good at, and we're not each other's ass every day, and we have a clear vision of what we're trying to do. And we respect each other's opinions. And it's easy to respect each other's opinions when you're making money. It really is. Like, because that's the thing, man. There's a guy I'm talking to right now. He's huge name, huge brand. But he's been out of the game for a while. He's trying to get back in the game. And I try to explain to him that the 2005, email blast techniques that he was using, they don't work anymore. And it's hard for him to grasp it. And he's like, yeah, I want to keep my visibility scarce. And I'm like, that day is over, bro. There's no more scarce visibility. You need to go on 60 podcasts a year minimum. And his team is not hearing it, but his team is not an e-com team. So they don't know what they're talking about. And we have these discussions. And I was talking to Kylie. She was laying next to me. And I was like, I was with these two guys, Weston and not Samson. I forgot what their names are. These two guys, they have an e-com business and they're doing 10 million a month. I was with them over at Bilzerian's house. And I was like, if these guys told me right now to dump Facebook Ad Manager and just go to YouTube, I would fucking do it in 2 seconds. In fact, they brought up TikTok Store. So we're going to start up TikTok Store, because if a guy's making 10 million a month, I'm going to listen to whatever he has to say and probably do it. Or at least I'm going to hire someone to at least experiment. I would never argue with someone who's making 10 million a month about fucking anything. Right? And that sounds so shallow, what I just said. Right? Michael, why would you not? Because I want to make 10 million a month. And the dude is not telling me this to be an asshole. He's telling me because it's the truth.
Was he the
so that's the way I would look at it.
fitness guy? What was his name? The fitness guy.
No, the V-Shreds guy. The V-Shreds guy are probably making some. They're probably making some level of that. I next time I see that, I'm going to ask them to come on my podcast. Those guys are super smart, and they also come from the pickup community.
Dang.
I'm going to talk to them. It was very clear listening to them that they have the same type of mentality I am. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. When you can look at someone who clearly isn't you, and you don't have any, you totally dispassionately look at them and say, your idea was a really fucking good idea. When you can do that, that is one of the main keys to success. When you look at somebody with a good idea and you're like, fuck that guy, I wish I'd come up with that idea. That is a key to poverty. That is what poverty looks like. I'd be rich too if I'd come up with the fucking poker games that Dan Bilzerian came up with. That is an attitude of fucking poverty. That's what poverty is. I'm too smart. Why does this guy think he can tell me anything? That is the sound of poverty. That is what poverty sounds like. Why does this guy think he can tell me anything? Who are you to tell me how to run my business? That is the sound of poverty. Okay? That's what poverty sounds like. I hate these fucking girls. They're 304s, and I would never wife up. That is the sound of virginity. That is the sound of sexual frustration. That's what it sounds like. Okay?
Yeah.
Abundance. She's a hoe and she's a hoe, but that girl's not a hoe. That girl who's not a hoe, that girl who is a hoe, and that girl who is a hoe, bless you. Go forth. Enjoy your lives being a hoe. I'm going to choose the woman who isn't a hoe. And all 4 of us are happy. Yay. Abundance. They for everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's the way you should look at it. A lot of people don't want to look at it like that. You know what I'm saying? That's a great idea for business. That's a great idea for business. That's not a great idea for business. He's not trustworthy. He's not trustworthy. This guy's trustworthy. I'm going to work with him. You guys go about your own way. Fuck it. I'll even affiliate for you if you want, but I am not getting into a contractual obligation with you dudes. Good luck to you. Everybody wins. Abundance. Everyone is happy. That's the way it should work. If you can't see the world that way, so where you say, hey, this person might not be right for me, but that doesn't mean I hate them, then you just enjoy the fuck out of poverty, because that's where you're going to be stuck.
Yeah, I think part of being successful, which is a huge one, because everyone talks about discipline and hard work and habits and all that. But I think one of the biggest ones that people don't talk about is this mindset. And one of the ways scarcity comes out of a person is, someone's winning. Someone's win might be my loss. Like, that's the equation they have in their heads. Yeah. And I think jealousy is a big one, right? Someone's winning. Oh my God, they won. I lost. Da 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 da. But I think everyone can win and everyone can be happy, and that's like one of the biggest. Like, I see my friends who we're doing way better than me on TikTok, like millions of views, and I'm just like, cool. I'm just gonna copy paste what they're doing. Like, the views are unlimited. They can keep coming in. I have zero.
Yeah, they can keep coming in.
Zero jealousy, honestly.
Dan mentioned once he wants to become a billionaire, and I would love if I played some small part in that to help him become a billionaire. I'd be so fucking happy. I would put that on I helped Dan Bilzerian in some small way become a billionaire. 100%, I'd be so happy for it. And the dude already has everything. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
we're all happy. Abundance. Abundance. I'm not starving. There's a roof over my head. Abundance. Why can't we just be that way? Well, we can't. And if you want to see examples of us not being that way, just read the comments on my TikTok. You'll see full of very like slow-witted, very low IQ individuals who just constantly, you don't know anything about anything.
I love your comment sections, bro.
You know?
I love them. I love your comment sections.
Isn't it
They're the
great?
best. They're the best.
And it's funny because it's kind of sad for us because they're starting to give up. I don't know if you noticed, but we're posting so much that, especially on Instagram, they're just kind of like being crushed in the comments, that the negative comments are just like starting to like, they're starting to give up because I'm backing up everything I'm saying with statistics, and they're just starting to just like, we can't take them on anymore. In fact, I'm almost worried that my content is so backed up with logic that it's becoming uncontroversial. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if I provide evidence for my viewpoint, if I provide so much evidence for my viewpoint, you don't even step into the arena trying to contest what I'm saying because I'm not expressing an opinion. I'm actually not, even though you deep down you don't like what I'm saying, I'm not controversial anymore because I'm providing evidence. Women who cheat in a relationship have 230% as many sexual partners as women who don't cheat in a relationship. And here's the data to show it. Fuck! Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, how are you supposed to argue with me?
Yeah, it's not about
what
you.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about me anymore. So like, I actually worry that I provide so much evidence that it's like becomes difficult to make my content controversial.
I love it, man.
Sense?
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to take any more of your time, man, but appreciate you doing this. Is there anything, closing remarks you want to drop in here?
Listen, man, if you like the ideology of being a good leader, living a lifestyle of abundance, and the concepts that I told you about being a connector and having massive amounts of preselection, if those things make sense to you and you can understand how that would change your life, just consider joining the free school group. And then if you're like sold, which some of you are, I can't believe how many of you guys just hit me. You hit up our sales guys and you're just like, I don't need a sales pitch. Just where do I give the fucking money? That's funny. The sales guy, we call them laydowns. The sales guys will hit me up and be like, yeah, we had a lot of laydowns this week. Like that's another one. Alex Hermosi, he has a ton of those. Like his sales guys, they just load up and they're just like, shut the fuck up. Where do I give you the money? I can save us the 30 minutes. If you're interested in that, go to moamentoring.com. We are a networking course first. If you want to learn business, we'll teach you some business stuff, absolutely. But you need to be there for networking stuff. If you're there mostly for business, we're not going to let you join the program. You need to be mostly there for networking and or dating, but maybe 60% and then 40% business. What'll happen is when you join the course, if you want to learn business stuff, we're going to teach that to you. And then you can, if you like what you're learning, then stay in the alumni program. But we always start off with social networking, social engineering first. And then we'll teach you some business stuff afterwards, because what we're not trying to do is get into like a dick measuring contest with like Amazon FBA courses or some crypto. We're not that course. But we are a course that'll teach you how to build a brand, build a huge social network, start a podcast, fix your social media. And while you're building your business with your social media, you're also going to be dating the hottest girls you've ever dated in your life. If that's what you're interested in, then I would hit me up on Instagram, and then I'll give you all the proper links.
Beautiful. Michael Sartain, thank you very much. I will see you Tuesday.